Well, hello everybody. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the mob vote. The 2022 mob vote just wrapped up, and it was a vote between the Sniffer, the Rascal, and the Tuff Golem. And pretty unsurprisingly, the Sniffer won. The Sniffer was sort of the popular one right out of the gate, and the Rascal and the Tuff Golem were a distant second and third place. And I just wanted to pose the question, should the Sniffer have won? Now, all three mobs were not real-world creatures. They're all kind of whimsical and fantastical and very cool, and they all had pretty good designs. The way they were presented was as such. The Sniffer is an ancient mob that has been extinct, and you can find eggs underwater that you can then hatch, and the Sniffer will come back. So you're basically reviving a extinct species, which is a really cool kind of story. Also, the Sniffer can uncover something called ancient seeds, which can grow into new types of plants. So right out of the gate, we're getting a new type of treasure, we're getting a new mob, we're getting some mythology, and we're getting new plants. So that's a pretty cool set of stuff. The Rascal was presented as a mob that you would find in mine shafts below Y0, and it would basically play a game of hide and seek with you. If you found it 3 times, it would give you a prize, and the prize that they showed was an enchanted pick. And that's it. The Tuff Golem was presented as a mob that can hold an item and is a statue that occasionally moves around. And that's it. So I don't feel like the Rascal or the Tuff Golem were necessarily bad mobs, I just don't feel like they were explained as well. And I'll give you an example. Let's say today there's a mob vote, and let's say these 3 mobs don't currently exist in the game. Let's say I'm going to have you vote between the dolphin, the rabbit, and the bee, okay? And let's say all that you know about it is the dolphin is an aquatic mob, and if you swim with it, it will make you swim really fast. That sounds really cool. You know, we could always use more life in the oceans, and a mob that makes you swim really fast, that sounds great. Then we have the rabbit. The rabbit is a cute little mob that you can find in many different biomes, and depending on which biome you find it in, it can be a different color. So like there'll be snow rabbits and desert rabbits and things like that. Rabbits, besides being cute, can actually be a source of food and be a source of leather. That sounds like a really full-featured, effective mob. And then finally, the bee. The bee is a cute little buzzy flying insect, and it makes honey that you can eat. Okay? Let's say that's all that you knew about these mobs. You didn't know any of the other stuff about them. Seems like the rabbit is a really, really compelling mob, but I think all of us would agree the bee is probably the best mob out of those 3. Not only does it make a food source and it helps pollinate flowers, but it makes honey blocks, which are an invaluable redstone component. So I guess what I'm getting at is that the Sniffer is not necessarily the best mob, but it was the best explained mob. We kind of know what we're getting with that mob. And there could be other things. You know, can you eat a Sniffer? I don't know. We'll find out. But, you know, the Tuff Golem, as an example, could it be used as a redstone component? Does it do anything else interesting? You know, can you use it in a defense kind of mechanism? Is there stuff you can do with traps? It's hard to say. Same with the Rascal. You know, it's a mob that looked really different than anything else we've got. And yes, there's this game of hide and seek it plays, but what happens if you take a Rascal out of a mine shaft? You know, can you make it interact with other things? Can it do other stuff? We don't know, and we probably never will at this point. But I just feel like we end up voting on the mob that they explain best. And that's a little bit unfortunate, especially with like the Copper Golem or the Iceologer or these other mobs that seemed really interesting, but they just didn't explain them as well. And you know, this might all be by design. You know, I imagine a Sniffer, which basically just roots around and occasionally uncovers seeds, is probably way easier to code than a game of hide and seek in a mine shaft. Who knows? So what do I propose? Well, I feel kind of like after watching Minecraft Live that I lost almost as much as I got. There's 2 mobs that I will probably never get in this game that I've been thinking about for the last month. And we got a few new features with the promise of more to come, but it's kind of a bummer. You know, there are these features that they show us that we just never get. I would much rather vote on something like, what color should the Sniffer be? Just knowing that that's going to be in the game, awesome. Let's customize it in some way. Or like the Rascal, it's going to be a mob that plays hide and seek. Do you want to play hide and seek in the forest? Do you want to play hide and seek in a mine shaft? Let us vote on a mechanic rather than the mob, because it's really a bummer to have these things shown and then never get them. And we did get some new features. We are getting rafts, but we're never going to get a Rascal, and we're still never going to get a Golem. So that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.